What if the smallest house on the street was hiding the biggest story of love, sacrifice, and dreams that refuse to die? This is not just a story about poverty, it's a story about a father whose broken hands built a future brighter than any mansion. The house was small, just 2 rooms made of old bricks and a tin roof that cried loudly whenever it rained. In summer, the heat turned it into an oven. In winter, the cold slipped through every crack. But inside those fragile walls lived a family held together not by cement, but by sacrifice. Every morning before the sun could rise, Rahim would wake up quietly. He never used an alarm. Responsibility was louder than any clock. He would sit for a moment on the edge of his worn-out bed, staring at his cracked hands. Those hands had carried bricks, lifted cement bags, and wiped away tears when no one was looking. His wife, Amina, pretended to stay asleep. She knew he skipped breakfast most days so the children could eat a little more. She would fold the same faded scarf around her head and whisper a prayer as he stepped out into the dark streets. Their children never knew the full truth. They only saw a father who smiled even when his shoulders bent under invisible weight. They only saw a mother who stitched old clothes into new ones and called it fashion. At night, when electricity failed again, the family would sit under a dim candle. The children studied while Rahim listened silently. He didn't understand their books, but he understood dreams. And dreams were heavier than bricks. Some nights, after everyone slept, he counted his earnings on the floor. Coins. A few crumpled notes. Never enough. He would calculate school fees, rent, medicine for his coughing mother, then quietly erase his own needs from the list. One evening, rain began to pour harder than ever before. The roof started leaking in 3 places. Water dripped onto the children's notebooks. Amina rushed to place old pots under the leaks. Rahim stood still, watching the drops fall like silent accusations. For the first time, his smile broke. He stepped outside into the storm, letting the rain soak through his thin shirt. The world felt heavy. His body ached. His savings were gone. Work had been uncertain for weeks. But inside the house, his daughter was still reading aloud, her voice soft yet determined. "I will become a doctor one day," she said confidently. Rahim closed his eyes. And in that moment, the storm no longer felt like rain, it felt like a test. He walked back inside, lifted the broken tin sheet with his bare hands, and tied it tighter despite the sharp edges cutting into his skin. Blood mixed with rainwater, but he didn't stop. Because tomorrow, before sunrise, he would wake up again. And he would search for more work. Even if it meant walking miles. Even if it meant carrying twice the weight. Even if it meant hiding his pain behind the same tired smile. The small house still stood. Weak. Leaking. Shaking. But inside it, a father's promise stood taller than any mansion. And somewhere between hunger and hope, between exhaustion and faith, another sacrifice was quietly waiting to be made. Because sacrifice, in that house, never arrived with noise. It came softly, like the way Rahim sold his only winter coat when his son needed exam fees. The morning after the storm, his hands were swollen and wrapped in an old cloth. Amina noticed the dried blood but said nothing. She only pressed his fingers gently and placed tea before him, thin, almost colorless tea. Sugar had finished 2 days ago. Rahim walked farther than usual that day. Construction sites were crowded with men like him, each carrying hunger in their eyes. Contractors picked the strongest first. Rahim waited. Hours passed. The sun rose high and unforgiving. By noon, only 3 men remained. Rahim was one of them. "No work today," the supervisor said carelessly. The words felt heavier than cement. He began walking home, counting the coins in his pocket, barely enough for bread. On the way, he stopped at a pharmacy. His mother's cough had worsened during the rainy night. He stared at the price of medicine for a long time. Then he quietly stepped back. At home, the children ran to him. "Abba. Teacher said I got highest marks," his daughter beamed. Rahim's tired face lit up like a lamp in darkness. He lifted her in his arms despite the pain shooting through his shoulders. In that moment, hunger disappeared. So did failure. That evening, Amina revealed something she had hidden, a small silver bangle, her last piece of jewelry from her wedding day. "We can sell this," she whispered. Rahim looked at it for a long time. It wasn't just metal. It was memory. It was youth. It was love. But dreams cost more than memories. The next morning, he held the bangle tightly in his palm as he walked toward the market. Each step felt like tearing a page from their past. Yet somewhere deep inside, he knew this would not be the last thing they would give up. Because in a small home like theirs, sacrifices did not finish. They multiplied. Years passed quietly, like pages turning in a worn-out book. The tin roof was replaced one summer, not with luxury, but with stronger sheets Rahim installed himself. His hair had turned gray, his back slightly bent, but his eyes still carried the same silent fire. The day his daughter received her medical college acceptance letter, the small house felt bigger than ever. She stood in the doorway, trembling, holding the paper as if it were made of gold. "Abba. I did it." Rahim didn't speak. He simply sat down on the old wooden chair. His cracked hands covered his face, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to cry openly. Every skipped meal. Every bleeding hand. Every sold belonging. Every silent prayer. None of it was wasted. His son soon earned a scholarship too. The house that once leaked during storms now echoed with laughter and confidence. Amina no longer stitched old clothes, she stitched hope into memories. One evening, as the family sat together under a bright electric bulb, no candle needed anymore, Rahim looked around the room. The walls were still simple. The furniture was still modest. But the air felt rich. His daughter gently held his hands. "These hands built more than houses," she said softly. "They built our future." Rahim smiled, not with pride, but with peace. He realized something powerful that night. A home is not measured by its size. It is measured by the strength of the sacrifices made inside it. True wealth is not money saved in banks, but values planted in children. Hard work may bend your body, but it strengthens generations. And sacrifices made with love never disappear, they return as blessings. Moral lesson. No struggle done for family is ever wasted. Patience, honesty, and hard work may not give instant results, but they build foundations that no storm can break. A small home with big sacrifices can raise giants for the world.